Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Wednesday's webinar, where we'll be discussing power digitalization with our partners from Schneider Electric. Today, we'll be learning how FMs can harness power digitalization for their facilities, creating efficiencies and resiliency. Smart buildings need smart power. While we wait for everyone to join us in the live stream, please drop us a line and be sure to tell us where you're from and say hello. So today we have an impressive panel lined up, and again, we'll be discussing power digitalization. Before we introduce our moderator and panelists, let's take a moment to go over the format. First, there'll be a presentation and discussion by the panelists, followed by Q&A where our panelists will answer your questions. So we need a couple of things from you during today's session. First, please like the video you're watching now. This helps us to reach more FMs like you who can gain insight from this kind of great content. It's very important, so we appreciate you doing that. And then secondly, be sure to drop your questions in the chat box, and our panelists will get to as many as we can during the time that we have together. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for today, Colette Temminck. She currently serves as Chief Strategy and Product Officer for Blue Sky, IBE, and is a member of IFMA's Global Board of Directors. It's all yours, Colette.
Thanks, Kim. I appreciate it. And welcome everyone to today's webinar. And we're going to focus on smart buildings need smart power. And I have a great group of panelists that are joining me today. So why don't we actually start with introductions? Maybe Alexi, if you can start, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to be with you. So I'm Alexis Grenon. I'm the Senior Vice President for Schneider Electric of the Digital Power line of business, based out of Paris.
Mike?
Hello, I'm Mike Flesch. I work for Guardian Industries in a plant in DeWitt, Iowa. My roles include project management, electrical engineering, and facilities management.
Terrific. Nabil.
Hey, how are you, everyone? My name is Nabil Taha. I'm Vice President General Manager of the EPMS division with Albireo Energy, based in the U.S.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So what you'll see today is really a presentation about the importance of power digitization, right? The valuable role it plays with facilities energy management, power availability and quality, and the electrical equipment maintenance. In addition, you're going to see how it helps facilities management and maintenance personnel make better decisions, resolve issues more quickly, and minimize downtime and use less energy. So today's commercial buildings, they consume about 60% of the world's electricity, and they're responsible for approximately 40% of the global energy-related CO2. And many of the facilities are really energy inefficient. And this represents an enormous untapped potential for decarbonization and sustainability. And we all know that facilities depends on electricity, right? So many of the buildings, it's a primary source for powering lights, air conditioning, elevators, appliances, etc. But many organizations are still working blindly without that visibility to their power usage and the condition of their electrical infrastructure. And if your electrical distribution network is not digitized, you may have real difficulty answering the following questions. The first one is, how do you measure carbon reduction and energy savings? Is it automated? Do you have a way to show the occupants in the building the energy usage of the building? You know, when there's a problem with a piece of equipment, how do you check whether it's caused by something electrical? And when there is a power outage, how do you gather the information that you need to really understand what happened and how to bring the building back to normal and safely? So this lack of information about the power usage and how electrical systems behave really exposes facilities to a great deal of risk. And that risk includes safety, uptime, energy efficiency, operational efficiency, and compliance. But there is a solution. right? And it has to do with the fact that the electrical distribution equipment hasn't exactly been top of mind for many facilities managers and energy managers. And this really can contribute to why 90% of the electrical distribution equipment is actually not connected to software. And that's where power digitization comes in. So now I'm going to turn it over to our first panelist, Alexi. Alexi, can you really start with, let's start with really understanding what is the critical role of power digitization and its value today? And really, is it easy to get started?
Thanks a lot, Colette. So first, let's really focus on what is power digitalization. Power digitalization is really about turning data into value for your business by using technology to better support decision making, generate better analysis, and automate or control operations at enterprise or site level. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a massive accelerator of digital transformation, reinforced by the core needs of remote everything. Digital technologies are set to make buildings around the world more connected, intelligent, efficient, reliable, and sustainable. Smart buildings. Deloitte, in a study, published a report earlier this year where 200 commercial building leaders weighed in on how their companies are recovering from COVID-19 pandemic. The outcome of the report was 56% of respondents believe that the pandemic exposed shortcomings in their organization digital capabilities. Buildings can strengthen operations by adopting a structured approach to digital transformation, leveraging and using analytics to make data-backed decisions. So really optimizing operational costs is a big factor. Using technology facilitate, for example, reallocation of space and more efficient facility management, locally or remote. The key enabler for power digitalization is EPMS. You've heard that 90% of the electrical assets are not connected to software. EPMS stands for Energy Power Management System. It's really valuable tools that allows a facility manager to have peace of mind when it comes to their power and energy system. It connects to devices, reads data from them, stores it in a database, and makes it available to the facility manager, potentially through a cloud interface. Now, if you look at the visual, the full potential of power digitalization is realized when the EPMS is connected to the cloud and integrated with other systems, such as building automation, facility management systems, process automation, and enterprise energy management system, as illustrated here. So now let's really talk about active energy management solutions for building. There's a lot of untapped potential in buildings and facilities for decarbonization, improved sustainability, and utility bill savings. Power digitalization plays a foundational role in energy management, power availability, power quality, and electrical equipment maintenance. So let's see how. The information is collected from sensors, power meters, protection relays, circuit breakers, and other smart power equipment such as UPS or variable speed drives that you may find in lifts or anywhere in lots of locations in the building. For example, in the race towards net zero for existing buildings, power digitalization can be done by retrofitting electrical systems with smart devices like PowerLogic power tags and using next generation IoT gateways like EcoStruxure panel servers connected to energy management software like EcoStruxure Power Monitoring Expert for an intelligent power network to improve energy efficiency, power reliability, and reduce risks. So the idea is to really focus on the infrastructure that on existing buildings would provide this value without creating disturbances in terms of installation and downtime. By having this data at hand, facility management can analyze energy usage, electrical asset performance, and power events to make better decisions and operate more efficiently. It's key. It's a key enabler of Schneider Electric's building of the future vision, focused on transforming buildings into smart buildings. So now let's see why power digitization really matters. Historically, facilities like data centers have really been on top of that. But now we strongly believe that with smart buildings, the need for power digitization will be required for a much broader set of buildings. Let's understand why. Now, smart buildings are getting more and more complex, and stability of power is becoming increasingly sensitive with penetration of renewables, electrical vehicles, LED lighting, a lot of IT loads inside the building. Recently, I was discussing with a real estate company in Northern Europe on their project for retrofitting a hospital building. Actually, the new surgical robotics, IRM, and advanced scanners were so large that the real estate company preferred to develop a brand new building rather than going through retrofitting of old, cramped existing facilities. These new equipments are extremely sensitive to power disturbances. Their lifespan can be significantly reduced by poor power quality within the external building electrical distribution network. In these new type of buildings, and more generally in modern buildings, quality of power becomes critical. And it's not just about power coming from the grid, it's really power within the internal network. So harnessing power digitization eventually provides more efficient and reliable buildings by reducing waste and lower energy spend, measuring energy reduction and savings against targets, monitor performance of your electrical system, prevent power disruption and equipment problems, diagnose electrical issues, restore power quickly, and eventually extend the lifetime of your electrical connected assets, such as scanners, IRM machines, as I mentioned in the example. So you'll hear more about that in the examples from Mike and Nabil later. Now, how do you start with power digitization in your building? It's never been easier to start. To make things simple, there are 3 steps: connect, automate, and extend. During the connect phase, facility and energy manager need to check for existing connectable devices. Now it's easy to fill the gaps and rapidly digitize the remainder of electrical network with affordable, easy to install wireless meters, like I mentioned, such as power tag meters that you clip on your existing switch gears. When power quality meters are installed and connected to the EPMS software, then the electrical system is automated. And that's the second step, and continuously monitor all types of power quality phenomena, from sudden and short duration disturbances to more chronic and persistent conditions. An EPMS can help automate several aspects of power quality management, including classification of voltage disturbances, power quality performance tracking, and compliance reporting. And then the third step is extend, where the true value of power digitization kicks in. Integrating different management systems together, starting with the EcoStruxure power monitoring expert, can yield many benefits, including better understanding energy usage in the context of operation, contextualizing your energy consumption, depending on the occupancy of the building, of the outside temperature, many aspects, the number of electrical vehicles charged, so that you have more efficient energy consumption monitoring, efficient troubleshooting, more comprehensive alarm management across your systems, and enhanced ability to analyze data and automate process. So eventually, and I'll conclude with that, for smart building, keep in mind that you do not manage, even for smart building, you do not manage what you don't measure. It's as simple as that. This is true for power consumption, but also more and more for power quality, CO2 footprint, and sustainability. This is why we need smart power for smart building. Now, Colette, back to you.
Terrific. Thanks, Alexi. I appreciate it. Now let's move to Mike from Guardian Glass, who will share with us specifically the value of power digitization has had on the facilities that he manages in both helping the continued operations from a power reliability perspective and sustainability point of view. So Mike?
Thank you, Colette. Just to give a little background about Guardian Industries, we're a global manufacturer of residential, commercial, and automotive glass. We have facilities on 5 different continents. Our automotive products provide safety from the elements when traveling. Our commercial products are specified by architects to provide facades on high-rise buildings. When those products are specified with our proprietary coatings, they also allowed energy efficiency in buildings. That it's a crucial part in them becoming LEED certified by the U.S. Green Building Council. Many of our residential windows are also coated in energy efficient coatings, and that allows even homeowners to get efficiency and provide savings in your homes. The manufacturing facility that I'm employed at in DeWitt, Iowa, in the USA, is a single floor building that's 750,000 square feet in area. Our production line, our main float glass line, produces approximately 700 tons of glass per day. We also have peripheral lines that produce mirrored glass, tempered or safety glass, and then the coated glass, of which I was speaking previously, is produced in our facility. So downtime on any production line is not only costly, it makes it affects our customers' confidence in Guardian to deliver quality products on schedule. So in 2017, we had an issue where our reliability was compromised. I had aging power factor correction equipment, was no longer functional. I was nearly getting penalties from my electrical supplier because our power factor was so low that we almost had to pay penalties. I had some power monitoring devices that had failed as well. And the software that was used to monitor them was antiquated, no longer supported. So I didn't have visibility into the power consumption or distribution in my plant. So I ended up partnering with Schneider Electric on a project to bring up my power factor while also implementing software that I could use, power monitors to install that I could use to monitor the power distribution throughout the facility. All this new equipment was networked together, utilizing what Alexi was just talking about, the Schneider Electric's power monitor and power monitoring expert software. I now have full visibility of my plant's power factor, power consumption. I can do ghost billing with the energy company to make sure that my bills are correct. I can also, what I call, give quote unquote bills to different areas in the plant just to let them know their power consumption for the previous month and ask the managers in those areas what they can do to get better. The positive results in the digitalization of this are numerous. I can now get emails from the software if any components are in alarm status, any of my power factor correction capacitors, or any of my power meters. I can get emails that tell me. I also get monthly reports that tell me the power distribution for each area. I am now attaining credit from my utility supplier because we participate in a curtailment program during the summer months when it's hot. I'm asked to get to a demand level that I set, and I can use the power monitoring to ensure that we're turning off production lines as needed to get to the power curtailment level that we need. So that's working great. I can also realize the power factor. I'm actually getting a credit from my utility now because my power factor is up to approximately 98%, and I'm getting a 5% credit on my electric bill every month because my power factor is higher than expected. A lot of utilities don't do that. We're pretty good in that. Ours does. And the total project investment resulted in a 2-year payback because of the credits I'm getting from my electrical facility. So the power digitalization that we've done has incredibly increased our reliability, sustainability. Colette?
Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And that was a great example of how the value of power digitization can actually provide to an organization. So now let's turn it over to Nabil. You actually have a great vantage point as an eco-expert partner of Schneider Electric. So can you share with us the trends that you're seeing and working with some of your existing customers? And can you also share with us the capabilities that it unlocks for your customers and what role you play in helping them with kind of the first step of this journey?
Sure. Thank you, Colette. So Albireo Energy is a control systems integrator. We partner with customers on all aspects of control systems, which include security, lighting, power quality, SCADA, BMS, and of course, EPMS. We have over 30 offices across the US and internationally, and are a Schneider Eco Expert Master in both BMS and EPMS. As Alexi said, you can't manage what you don't measure. And that's really the first point. Accurate measurement and baselining of your system is incredibly important to meet any goals that you may have in your organization. Additionally, the insight you gain from your facility when you start measuring that data is frequently a blind spot for many operators. Through our partnership with Schneider and partnering with our customers, we deliver systems that provide a comprehensive look at the facility and work closely with operators and management teams to make sure that everyone is getting the reports and the information they need through customizable dashboards, emails, and reporting. A power monitoring system with metering installed parallel to utility can get you started on the way to digitization and can be easily set up with a cloud-based system. This eliminates the maintenance costs that you may have with traditional on-premise system, so you can manage your facility instead of managing a system. This can easily be added to and upgraded over time to provide additional insight as your facility grows and as your system grows. At a manufacturing facility for a food and beverage company a few years ago, we added a number of meters there because they were having issues with motors failing prematurely as well as transformers overheating. So we suspected a harmonics issue, and they decided to go for some permanent metering to look into it. We ended up installing active harmonic filtering after gathering data, but about a week after we installed the power monitoring meters as well as the software and trained them on how to look at the data, they were bringing up an additional production line. When they brought this line up, they had a utility breaker upstream trip offline. If you're in a facility, you always want your own breaker to trip before the utilities. It's usually a big headache. You have to call the utility out. Sometimes they charge you for it. And because their breaker didn't trip, their normal SOP would have been to call out an electrical testing company, have them come inspect their own breaker, figure out why it didn't trip, make sure and recheck all their settings. And it would have caused up to 48 hours of downtime for them, which is lost manpower as well as lost productivity. The system was in place and recording during all this, and we were logging the information. They could go back and look at the EPMS system and know that they never reached their current breaker ratings. Because of this information, they were able to share it with the utility. The utility came out, they looked at their own breaker, and they realized it had an incorrect rating setting. It was set for half its rating and should have never tripped offline. They were able to get up and online in about 2 hours, and they were able to continue their operations very, very quickly. And this one incident completely paid for their EPMS system, and something they weren't expecting on the ROI calculations we did for them. So that those kind of insights and those issues that prop up that you may have not had the data before to look for or look at really provides great insight and allows you to manage that facility. Once we're able to gather accurate data, which is what our field team really is there for, we're there to help you commission, make sure all the CTs are pointing in the right directions. We're getting data that makes sense. If we're looking at a generator or a UPS, the data is within the operating capabilities of that machine. It's scaled properly, so you're recording that data accurately for all your reporting needs. And once we're able to get that, then we're able to turn that data into real recommendations and incorporate smart decisions into the system. So if you have solar power or thermal generation, we can make decisions on when you should use that power, when you should use your batteries, and so on and so forth. So thank you.
Thanks, Nabil. I appreciate it. So welcome back, everyone. We've got some time before we move to Q&A for kind of one last question. And, you've provided great insight and examples of, how both power reliability and energy efficiency and, frankly, digitization and innovation are these key enablers, right, in driving power digitization. But can you really share, kind of from your perspective, what's the single most important transformation that company needs to consider or implement or prioritize over the next 12 months? Why don't we start with Nabil, since you were last finished?
Sure. So if you haven't started towards the path, that is the single most important thing you can do is get started. Find a partner that can work with you, whether that's, you have just one facility or you're a global organization. Find a company that will partner with you throughout the entire process. Come out, look at what you already have in your existing facilities that can already be connected, can do walkthroughs with you, make sure we have accurate as-built of your facility, and then help design the network infrastructure, both wired, wireless, cellular, and the cybersecurity requirements that you need for your facility to be able to give you a system that will last for the lifetime of that facility as it's maintained properly, and allow you to add to it and grow it as your facility grows. Getting that data and making sure you're set up for the future is the number one most important thing you can do. If you need support, reach out to the Schneider Eco experts.
Thanks, Nabil. How about you, Mike?
Well, Colette, I think from an industrial facility management aspect, innovation is definitely the key for the next 12 months. Technology is constantly evolving, and it's important to embrace new technologies, incorporate it into the plants or into your facilities to foster continuous improvement and transformation. That allows the facilities to operate even more reliably and efficiently. Again, just like Alexi said, if you don't see it, you can't manage it. So it's important to embrace the technology and get there. It's going to give your business, as far as I said, I know it's different maybe in an apartment complex, but for an industrial facility, it'll give you competitive advantage. If you're going to operate more reliably and efficiently, you're going to be able to save money and pass that on to the customers and still make the money. So digitalization is not only important in just the power aspect of it, but I think all systems and equipment, especially in an industrial facility, can benefit from the digitalization. We're at, Alexi mentioned too, IoT, the Internet of Things. We're connecting everything everywhere. In the past few years, we've installed hundreds of sensors in our plant on motors, fans, everything that we can think of, vibration sensors, temperature sensors, runtime sensors. All of this is actually from our facility in DeWitt, Iowa, being monitored in a company in Kansas. And anytime any parameters get out of a set point or anything, we're notified immediately that it's starting to track or trace badly. And we can preemptively replace a component or something before failure occurs. So I really think that innovation is the way to go in embracing new technology.
Thank you. How about you, Alexi?
Well, I think from a technology supplier point of view, what we're seeing is that so obviously, as Mike mentioned, innovation is critical. Choosing the right partner, as Nabil is saying, to implement the solution is also critical. But what we're seeing is that electricity will play a much larger role in energy consumption in the future for buildings. Buildings will not just consume power, but they will also produce, store, and share power. And so this brings extra complexity of distributed generation, energy storage, EV charging, and connection to the smart grid. So all buildings will need to have a smart power system. The system approach end-to-end, from the infrastructure to collect data, to the software, to the services, is a critical aspect. Just remind you the first slides. 90% of the electrical assets are connectable potentially, but they are not actually sending data to a software, whether it's on premise or in the cloud. So I think that the end-to-end system approach is critical to drive the right value. And this is all the more critical that due to the intermittent nature of renewables and effect of power conversion, managing power quality is also becoming more and more important, as Mike said earlier. So if we look at addressing the full potential of power digitization in the context of greenfield and retrofit, that's really critical. It's the digital technologies like wireless sensors, such as power tag, designed for new and existing installations connected to cloud-based energy management system that are set to make buildings around the world more connected, intelligent, efficient, reliable, and sustainable. And really lowering the barrier to entry for facility managers to really have access to active energy management. So this end-to-end system view with the right level of innovation, leveraging wireless to make it seamless with the right partner is really critical for digitization that will address more and more buildings.
Terrific. Thanks, Alexi. So now we have some time to actually move to Q&A. So please, everyone, submit your questions. We have a great group of panelists here who hopefully can help answer your questions. So why don't we go ahead and start with the first one. The first one actually comes from Anil. And this is a great question because I think a lot of companies face this, which is really around the implications associated with a multi-tenant building, right? What can they do when they look at metering or sub-metering, and do these solutions really work when you're one of those tenants in that multi-tenant building? So that's probably a great question for you, Alexi.
Right. So from a technology point of view, there's absolutely we have all the solutions to enable that with the right sub-metering infrastructure and pushing data to an EPMS software like Power Monitoring Expert, for instance. You can really have segregate power consumption per tenant and have a clear visibility per tenant. So we really have the ability to do that from a technology point of view. After, from an investment point of view, it's another story. You have to deal with the other tenants, obviously.
Right. So the next question actually comes from Dana Johnson. And the question is, would you say that it could be integrated into an existing BMS system? And, I don't know if this is really, maybe Nabil, if you know or can answer this question, that'd be great.
Yes, we frequently try to work with the existing systems that customers have. We want to utilize and get the best return for your investment. So we work to make sure that we're choosing devices that help you in your facility. So frequently we can integrate it to almost any system, but you get the most out of the metering using an EPMS system that can give you the proper reporting and waveforms and power quality information.
Perfect. Thank you. So the next question is actually for Mike, and it comes from Michael. So Mike, was it difficult to incorporate new information into your operations, especially after coming from an antiquated software package?
It was actually very easy. We replaced, I guess you would say, a Schneider competitor's antiquated software and power metering, and incorporated Schneider Electric for our capacitor banks for power factor correction, for the power monitoring, power metering, and also for the software, the PME software. So everything integrated seamlessly. Schneider Electric team came out, commissioned everything, set up the VLAN network for all the power monitors, power meters, and the VAR set capacitor banks, and left me with a fully up and functional system with reporting, everything that taught me some things. And then also, Schneider provides a class on the software that's a 1-week class that I was able to take and learn how to do better reporting, and even build my own screens, create some kind of different arithmetic using the metering to even sub-meter to a lower level for power distribution around the plant. So it's very simple.
Yeah, definitely training is a critical aspect to what we do, and a lot of time that we spend with the customers and making sure they can build their own dashboards, build their own reports. There's a lot of customizability in the system. And even then getting down to the programming level of adding new data logs or new alarms without the need of someone coming in. But training and getting the most out of your system is incredibly important.
And I think, if I may add, so there is definitely these services that you're getting from partners or Schneider Electric to set up the system. But beyond that, there's really services to operate the system at the maximum efficiency. We've developed analytics, for instance, on power quality that are running on data extracted from the EPMS system sent to the cloud. And these analytics integrate decades of knowledge from Schneider Electric and its partners on power quality. So when the facility managers do not have internal competency, deep competency on power quality, they can really subscribe to those services, and we can submit periodic reports on power quality with the recommendations on what to do about power disturbances, for instance. And that's really a great way to maximize the data and information you're getting from EPMS through these analytics and artificial intelligence. So that's another type of services that you can really leverage.
Terrific. And I think we all know, right, if you're starting off a project, how you start that implementation is so critical to the success going forward, and making sure that the team is prepared and ready. So that training is critical. Let's go to a question from Eric Jaspers. He's saying that one of the trends that they're seeing is really seems to be identifying, is the addition of this alternative energy sources around buildings like solar. And what does one need to implement for alternative energy sources?
So there's a number of different ways. And what we see the trend in the market right now is really what's called microgrids. So where you're building a system that takes into account maybe thermal generation, solar power, batteries, your utility, and connecting everything together and automating that process as well. Those decisions on where to utilize power are made automatically based on your price of power and what the system is doing, what's the load in the system, what's the demand in the building. There's quite a few things to take in consideration when looking at a system like this, but it's stuff that we do day to day.
Terrific. Appreciate it. This next question is probably for you as well, Nabil. We've got it from Sayatan. One of the questions is, can we integrate power data from multiple facilities spread across the same city or a different city under one window? So
one of the great things about the new version of the software, since I think PME 9.0, is is you can bring in not only multiple locations, so as long as we can network it all together, and it can be done in a number of different ways, but we can also separate that data out. So if you want each facility to be able to look at their own data for local operation, but then at a management level, you want to look at reporting across the entire company, you can make that happen and segment it in such a way so that they have focus on their equipment, the graphics they need, and the data they need to run the facility and not get overwhelmed by multiple facilities. It's a great feature and something we do frequently with our cloud offerings of bringing in even smaller facilities that may have only 1 or 2 meters at a location through a cellular connection that's secured end to end into a cloud-based system.
And maybe to add to Nabil, so with the latest versions of Power Monitoring Expert, you can centralize as well alarm management. So a facility manager from a central location can see alarm popping up from the different sites and manage that remotely from a single location. So that's another benefit. An additional benefit is benchmarking energy efficiency. You can very much imagine that you have a facility, a building in the northern part of the country where it's cooler, and another one in southern part of the country where it's hotter, right? And by having access to energy consumption, but normalizing it per the outside temperature, you will realize the true efficiency of a building. A building may consume more kilowatt hour for the same space, but because of different weather conditions, would be actually more efficient than a building that consumes less kilowatt hour in another location. So it actually allows you to truly benchmark the energy efficiency of your different sites and to have a true picture of what's the ladder of your efficient buildings, of your smart buildings.
Right. This falls into a lot of corporations that are going through a full digital transformation across their enterprise, right? And are you seeing, and energy is a large part of the operations of a building, both from, as we've talked about, resiliency, cost, insight, and frankly, the experience of the individuals in the building, specifically around temperature and other things in the equipment. When you look at actually implementing this program, what are the secrets to success, or at least some advice? You've been through this a few times with your clients in your own organization, Mike. What's some advice that you would give the audience when they kind of start thinking about implementing a program like this? Is it not? It's certainly, we talked about talent in the organization, but what kind of pearls of wisdom would you give folks in the audience? You could start with any of you. Mike, you've lived this experience firsthand.
Well, I know from my side of it, it's a visibility, it's a convincing management that it's important to do this from a visibility standpoint. So it didn't help that, or it didn't hurt that we actually had a payback because of the implementing the power factor correction capacitors with the project. So it's very much trying to convince, it's educating yourself to begin with, to know what you're getting into and you know how to talk about it, and then convincing management that it's a necessity. It's something that's very important to help you in the long run.
I mean, it's a great point. The business case that you're sharing and all the value that it's bringing. How about you, Anil?
It's very important to plan your system out and make sure that you're setting up the standards, the scope of work, and working towards a coherent plan and for your entire facility or across multiple facilities.
Thanks, Anil. Alexi.
Well, I think from my point of view, really defining clearly, and a bit linked to what Mike was saying, defining clearly what what are the objectives you want to reach, whether your priorities in terms of energy consumption, in terms of sustainability, in terms of power quality. That really depends on the type of buildings, the type of assets inside the building that you're dealing with, and being clear on what you aim at and what are your objectives, what are the problems to solve based on the type of assets will allow you to define the best system suited for your assets. Obviously, when you're going for power digitization of a hospital, that's a different story than a data center, than a mixed usage building. And more we see that mixed usage of commercial, residential, a bit of data center. So clearly defining your objectives and the problem you want to solve will allow you to define the best system and the best digitization of power.
Terrific. So when you think about these implementations in your clients, and once they've gone through kind of implementing this program like Mike has, what's next? Is it truly more kind of the predictive analytics? Is it really the insights? So Alexi, you're at the forefront of this with Schneider and kind of what companies are seeing. But what do you see when you look into the future around clients that have implemented this and that continued value for them?
Well, what I see is that a couple of things. First, I think the needs of the customer, of the user evolves with the maturity they have in using the system. Really, the first steps are collecting data, and as I mentioned, you don't manage what you don't measure. So measuring data. And now progressively, you realize that this data gives you access to a lot of information. And so progressively, you're capable to step up the capabilities of your system. And with Power Monitoring Expert, by the way, we have really a modular architecture that allows our customers to buy additional modules as their maturity in using the system increases and that their need evolves. So you can have a building that registers to a demand response program, and then suddenly you have additional needs that can be delivered through these modularity of the EPMS system, just as an example. So I think that's one aspect that is quite important. The other, what I see in the future as well, is they use more and more of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and analytics that will substitute or complement the internal competency that we see within facility managers or building operators. And let's be honest, I think the internal competency on power management and electrical distribution is probably reducing year by year. So how do you complement that with digital system that provides a lot of data, a lot of information, but that you have the possibility to really interpret and analyze and turn into action through a lot of AI-based services. And I think that AI will give a lot of additional capabilities while hiding behind the hood the complexity of the digital system and still delivering the full value.
I think that's great, especially the modularity, right? When you think about the interoperability and AI and starting to tie to other systems like space planning or IWMS, those insights of bringing that information and data together will add a lot of value to the organization and just helping the occupants and the management of that building going forward. And I know we're going to run short of time here, but I wanted to give the panelists kind of a moment to, if there's anything more that you want to share with the audience that we haven't touched upon in any of the questions or insights that you want to provide before we break, that would be terrific. I don't know if we want to start with you, Mike. Anything you want to kind of share with the audience?
Yeah, I think it's just what kind of Nabil pointed out. have a good partner. You don't know what you actually need to know until you actually get a specialist or somebody that's knowledgeable about it. I mean, I believe that every facility can benefit from it, but you need to bring in experts to help you. Schneider will do that for sure. For power quality, power management, power utilization, they'll come in and help determine what is necessary and what you need. So education, again, is a great thing. Learn about it and get a partner to help you with it.
Great advice, Mike. Appreciate it. Nabil, how about you?
Yeah, and I guess along those same lines is get started. Don't be afraid of it. Reach out and start making the plans.
Great. Alexi.
Well, on my side, I think that we're talking about we can talk about smart buildings and new buildings, but there is a huge opportunity to drive value, to deliver value, to decarbonize, and to really reach sustainability goals by addressing existing buildings. So I think when you think about power digitization, think both new buildings, but think also about the hundreds of thousands of existing buildings where electrical distribution is not connected, or when they are connected, the data is not sent to any EPMS system, and then you don't have any services that really make your smart building or smart power. So I think when you want to greenify your existing buildings, right, is really moving from gray to green, from your existing building to a green building. I think one of the first steps, and potentially before putting solar panels on the roof and storage and so on, one of the first steps is power digitization, is to understand your power management, to have active power management. And the ROI is great, and then you can think about more complex type of investments, like solar, like renewables, like EV storage, and so on. But I think that's really the basic step to take your existing building towards a smart building.
Yeah, it's a great point. And it actually follows along that last question that we've had come in, which is really, the question came from Tom K. And, how does the panel feel about the topic as it relates to ESG? And I know we've touched upon, the impact that buildings have on both energy consumption and GHG emissions. But, this is an opportunity to really help shape that and ESG. So, Nabil, how about you? How are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of sustainability initiatives for many companies is energy, and measuring your energy and knowing where it's going is important to be able to meet any goals you may set internally for your system. Additionally, if we look across the world, there's quite a few countries setting up clean energy initiatives and working to reduce carbon emissions. And these systems are really what's there to help you guys reduce and measure.
Terrific. I think Tom had a follow-up question, which is really around there's a lot of noise regarding smart, technologies, and smart, often it's smoke and mirrors. But what does the panel think, in terms of properly vetting smart solutions?
Yeah. So you're right. If it's just data and you're not doing anything with that data, you're not analyzing it, you're not reporting on it, you're not adding it to additional factors within your system, then it is just data and it's not smart. You have to be able to utilize a system that takes that data and gives you real recommendations and solutions to what you may be seeing. And part of that is bringing together the Schneider Electric EcoStructure to give you insights to really make that data smart. And then that's really what we mean by that. Alexi, you have Something else?
I would completely concur, Nabil. I think that what we're seeing is that in lots of buildings, you may have metering on your switchgear. Now, does the meter is the meter connected to any type of gateway, pushing the data to any type of software that processes your data into actionable information? And I think that's and later on leveraging services to even extract, as I was mentioning, through AI, even extract some more value, so that you move to predictive maintenance on your electrical assets, predictive energy consumption. So for me, that's what really makes the system smart.
Terrific. Well, I can't thank you all enough for just spending time with us. And on behalf of IFMA, I think this has been an informative session. So I want to thank the audience for participating throughout this hour and submitting your questions. And feel free to continue to submit questions or contact any of the panelists directly. I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any future questions that you may have. And if you're starting this journey and you're thinking about your electrical infrastructure, make sure you reach out to an expert to help you as you kind of begin that initiative. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Kim. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Stay safe.
All right. Great. Thank you, Colette. And thank you, Alexi, Mike, and Nabil. We really appreciate the great information and insight that you brought. For those of you who are watching, if you have not done so yet, please like the video that you're watching now. It truly does make a difference, and it helps to get this information out there to other folks who are struggling with the same issues that you are with their facilities. And also, for more great content like this with our partner from Schneider, you will be able to find additional webinars by subscribing to our channel, and you'll also be receiving information when we have additional webinars like this. So we appreciate you, and we hope that everybody has a great day. Thank you, and take care.